We had a meeting yesterday to discuss the emerging crisis of El-Nino, and we decided to have this press brief today pursuant to the resolutions that we made yesterday. So I'll read a brief statement on behalf of including Tana River. So press statement, Northeastern Parliamentary Group. The Northeastern Parliamentary Group demands urgent action, urgent government attention and action in the wake of the El-Nino floods. We, the members of the Northeastern Parliamentary Group, have convened an emergency session today to address the escalating humanitarian crisis caused by the devastating effects of the ongoing El-Nino rains in the region that continue to wreak havoc and inflict pain on the communities across the wider region. The growing impact came after the first region started receiving El-Nino rains earlier than most part of the country, experiencing the same, making it the worst hit area as the longest in suffering the El-Nino effects. It is therefore noted that our people are bearing the painful brunt in this unprecedented crisis as the region grapples with the severe impact of the ongoing floods that is experienced immediately after the long season of drought and famine. You are aware that recently, just a few months ago, we have had serious drought in that particular region. The relentless rains have resulted in massive destruction of critical infrastructures. You have seen what happened to the main road between Garissa and Mwingi, displacement of communities and looming humanitarian crisis that demands the immediate attention and action by the government. All major towns and villages have been marooned by the floods, making the expansive region completely cut off from the rest of the country after vital entry roads being unprecedentedly swept off at Madogash, Kutulo, and most recently yesterday, that is the Tula Bridge that links Garissa to Nairobi, suffering similar fate and rendering the whole region conspicuously inaccessible by road. To make matter worse, apart from Wajir Airport, almost all airstrips in the 3 counties are completely not usable. None of them actually is functional and completely shut down due to the intensity of the floods. The prevailing situation grants airdrops as the only way to avail food to the displaced flood victims, though this Red Cross that has been engaged in this doesn't have the capacity, and therefore we are appealing to the Kenya Defense Forces and UN agencies like the World Food Program to chip in. So far, thousands of families have been displaced by the raging waters, with the irritating situation forcing people to seek alternative shelters in makeshift structures on high grounds. The same scenario has seen thousands of livestock that have survived the long droughts being swept away, denting serious damage to the livelihood of most of the residents of these particular areas. The pervasive preference of the waters has drastically transformed the region to a potential soft spot, breeding ground and a home for waterborne diseases and vector-borne diseases, including cholera and malaria. Most of the health facilities are non-functional, and therefore provision of medical service right now is completely out of reach of most of the people. In painting the grim picture of the situation, the scary reality remains that the 3 counties of Wajir, the 4 counties of Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Tana River is staring at starvation if quick action and contingency measures are not executed, especially with the underlying developable state of infrastructure to support the delivery of food relief and other supplies to the victims. More disturbing reports from the ground have raised the red flags on increased food shortages and lack of adequate shelter to the affected families, the most vulnerable being women, children, and the elderly. With military precision in tightening up all loose ends to arrest the crisis. Therefore, the situation calls for immediate action and comprehensive intervention to alleviate the suffering of the affected population. It remains painful and more disturbing that despite the quantum and the magnitude of the calamity, all our individual and collective efforts to seek the attention of those who are in charge has generally remained unattended to. We therefore continue to call on the government to swiftly design all applicable mechanisms needed as a matter of priority to avert loss of lives and mitigate the long-term effects of this humanitarian crisis. As a matter of extreme urgency, we implore the government to act on the following strategies. First, declare the El-Nino rains and floods as a national disaster. To date, what we have been seeing is just lip service. We are yet to see any meaningful, well-collaborated, well-coordinated action from the government. And therefore, this remains our unified call for the government action to incorporate the support of all relevant strategic players to upscale capacity and improve coordination among state agencies, non-governmental organizations, the donor community, and the wider Kenyan public. Two, we are also asking the government to immediately deploy emergency relief, to avail emergency relief. The government to urgently expedite the deployment of emergency relief supplies, including food, clean water, medical aid, and shelter to the affected families. Three, evacuation and temporary shelters. Since most areas are flooded, we're asking the government to assist in measures to evacuate the vulnerable population to safer locations. Four, infrastructure and rehabilitation. We call upon the government to allocate resources as a matter of urgency to rehabilitate the damaged infrastructure, including roads, the bridges, the health centers, schools, to enhance the flow of the necessary assistance to the people in that particular region. Five, public health measures to prevent the outbreak of waterborne diseases and other vector-related diseases. We urge the government to provide adequate medical facilities to the affected towns and villages. Six, community support and resettlement. We are also asking the government to provide urgent assistance for the households to rebuild their lives, including financial assistance, livelihood support, and plan for sustainable resettlement. And seven, we need the government to decisively act in order to save lives and the properties of these communities.
Honorable Kenan has put everything in perspective. We all know that this El-Nino has been with us for the last 3 weeks. And unfortunately, the actions by the government has been wanting. We are staring at a situation whereby the residents of Northeastern and also parts of northern Kenya will starve to death because of lack of food. I compare this to a situation that is happening internationally. You have seen trucks of food at Rava crossing. They can't reach Gaza. This is what's happening now in Northeastern. Trucks cannot reach the people of Northeastern. And that now will lead to starvation. The near non-existent infrastructure in terms of roads have been swept. We don't have roads in the first place. So the ones that look like roads have been swept. We don't have bridges. And the government is unable to declare this as a national disaster. Now, we, the leadership, actually want to declare that there's a national disaster on behalf of the government because they have failed to do so. So with this, we are appealing to the international community, especially UN organizations like World Food Programme, to step in and cap in. We can't wait for government to declare when people are going to die. Health facilities have closed long time ago because there are no drugs. They can't reach. Last night, there was issue of KEMSA saying we are procuring ABCD. How can they reach the people of Northeastern Northern Kenya? So, as we speak for the people of Northeastern and Northern Kenya, today we declare that there is a national disaster in terms of El-Nino. So we ask the international community please to step in. We have seen our deputy president visiting other places. He has not stepped in or visited Northeastern just to see what the situation is. We ask him also, because he's the one coordinating on behalf of the Kenya government, to go and visit those places so they can get first-hand experience. The people are going to die. And then we're going to now come back and say, oh, what have you done? So we implore the people. And also the media. You're not covering also as much as you're covering in other places. You're also neglecting Northeastern people. You are covering places where there are roads, there are bridges, so many things. Northeastern, there are no bridges, no roads. Nothing can reach. You're also covering also just in urban areas. Please go also and cover how the people are suffering on the ground. So you can depict and tell the Kenyan people, the Kenyan government, and the world what is happening, so we can get help. The county governments are trying their best. This is not the scope and the mandate of the county government. They cannot cope. They can't do it. We want the national government to assist. They are given 15%. We are looking for the 85% of the national budget. Where is it? So we also don't want to blush or blast the county governments who have only 15%. Where is the 85% that is supposed to also help the people of Northeastern Northern Kenya? We are actually angry. We are devastated. And we are not going to clap anymore. Mr. Deputy President, you have been given the mandate and task to coordinate, go and visit Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Turkana, other places, and Tana River, and see what is happening on the ground. We commend the efforts of Kenya Red Cross and also Kenya Defense Forces, because they have also deployed some of their aircrafts. But it's not enough. Kenya Power. There's power blackout in Mandera. They can't even drop fuel to their power stations. Others are going to be in blackout very soon because there's no fuel, because we depend on the generators. If Northeastern was at par with all other parts of Kenya, we would not have had this problem. El-Nino will have come, no problem. Trucks will have gone. Aircrafts will have landed in airstrips, no problem. But there's no infrastructure. It is zero, nil. And our hope is that before the end of this term of this government, of His Excellency the President Ruto, at least we hope that the road from Garissa will reach all the way to Mandera. Our greatest problem is infrastructure. And it's been a lip service, governments after governments, that it's going to be done. Nothing has been done. So that is it, and I think you have heard the message. We will give it to my other colleagues.
Power stations have shut down because there's no fuel, not just in Mandera, all of them. And it's as if nothing has happened in our country here. 2 million, the lives of over 2 million people are at risk. In the biggest or the worst, what do you call, El-Nino that we have seen, at least in all that I can recollect myself and remember. And I'm not a young man. And our government is mum. It's just sitting there. Whenever there are disasters of this nature anywhere in the world, including the most developed countries, the economy of Florida as a state in the US is more than 10 times the economy of Kenya. And whenever there's things like that, floods, hurricanes, typhoons, the Federal Emergency Management Agency of the US steps in. President of this, from Washington, D.C. goes there to see how it's going. Coordination. The biggest economies in the world, when they have an earthquake, the whole world, they make an appeal to the whole world. We haven't made an appeal right now to the globe. This disaster is of a magnitude that even Kenya government cannot cope with it on its own without the support of the international community. Why are people not talking about it? Why is this government sitting on its very, very happy? So we're calling on the government, as a matter of emergency, an agency, to immediately declare the national disaster in here and make an appeal, a flash appeal to the international community. They need air droppings. Food has got to be dropped from there. Massive helicopters which can transport 10 tons, more than 10 tons, must be deployed. 2 million people who do not have their livelihood is not a small number. I know we'll have a problem dealing with it alone as a country, but I think with the international community coming on board, we shall be in a position to save lives and try and mitigate the effects of this disaster right now. So ours is just to say, where is the government? Where is the Kenya government? Where is it missing in? It's missing out. When its own people, its own citizens, who have been marginalized institutionally, institutional government guided marginalization for 70 years or 60 years since independence. When we don't even have more than 100 miles of tarmac in the whole of that region. And everywhere else, tarmac goes all the way to the farms of people and homes of people. And again, this happens, in the very least, in the past, this appeal used to be done, and the international community used to come in and try and support us. And the people, you save lives. So ours right now is to say, move with the speed. Move, Mr. President Ruto, move with the speed. This is the biggest litmus test for your own administration. And rein in your deputy president. Let him understand he's there, a heartbeat away from the presidency of this country. God forbid, but if anything were to happen to President Ruto, he steps in there. But the way he's talking right now is not befitting of a person of that kind of a leadership. So we want to see results. And when we talk like that tough, it's because of the pains that are there. Thank you.
magacaygu waa Aadan Xaaj Yuusuf oo xildhibaanka laga soo doortay galbeedka Mandera. Maanta waxaan halkaan ku kulminay xildhibaanada Northeastern ilaa kuwa Tana River ayaa halka ku kulmeen anigoo ka hadlayno dhibaatada hadda wadanka ka socoto taas oo biya baxeenka ama El-Nino da roobka batay oo wadooyinka go'een marka hore wadama haysanin hasi ahaatee way go'een inta yareedna marka sidaas hadda aad maqlayeen dhibaatada ugu weyn waxa way wax wada la dhaha ma jiraan halkaas diyaarooyinka meesha ku degaan goroomadii diyaaradda dhan waa khalaas lama hayo waxa kala jira hatta international airport ki wajeer dhanko dhan hadda biyo buuxsameen waa iska dhibaato kala dhibka meesha hadda ka jira waxa weeyaan cunto lama hayo isbitaalooyinkii daawo lama hayo waxa khatar in cudurro badan hadda dalacaan waa bilowdeen waa dalacaan corona kamida iyo waxyaalo kala hatta xoolaha waxaad arkaysan geel dhiiqooday oo xarig lagu jiiday 3-4 kilometer meel xoogaa kor loo jiiday arkaysan marka mid aan sheegayno hadda walaalayga ay sheegeen waxa weeyaan dawladii oo mas'uulka saarnaa oo dadkeeda mas'uulka saarnaa meede lama hayo way arinta lama hayo way waa qaylinay wadana waan sii qaylinayna meeshan waxaan u baahanahay dawladda Kenya laba walxad lixda nusra waan soo qaylinayna marginalized baaneen dawladnimo in yar waxaan aragnay markay bilowday devolution laakiin waa 15% boqolkiiba 15 oo dhaqaalaha Kenya ayaa wax county la dhan loo qaybiyaa inta kale wax halkan ay ku soo hartay shaqadan iyaga iska leh marka waxaan doonaynaa si degdeg arintan in lagu dhawaaqo inay tahay arin khatar disaster in lagu dhawaaqo si adduunyada dhan ay noo maqlaan ay noo soo gurmadaan maxaa yeelay sida hadda ay ku socoto ibn aadamkii baa dhamaanaya cunto lama hayo xoolihii in yar abaarihii ka soo hareen dhan khaas ahaan geela kulli waa dhiiqooda sida gawaaridu isaga u tagtaagan yahay cunto ma cuni hayo maadaama dhibkan uu jiro dawladda la haynin dowladda waxaan leenahay waa warning aan bixinaynaa waxaan bixinaynaa warning waxaan leenahay tan waa tii ugu dambeysay aan dowladdan aan ku fiirinayno wassalaamu calaykum waraxmatullahi wabarakaatu.
Bura constituency in Tana River County. I will be very brief since I totally associate myself with the comments of my brothers who have spoken before me and leaders from northern Kenya. But I want to briefly add to paint picture in Tana River County. Situation is very dire. In Tana River County, it is a gateway to the whole of northern Kenya. There is 2 major roads connecting from Mombasa to Garissa, to the rest of northern Kenya, and one heading from Nairobi to Garissa. As we speak today, there is a bridge in areas in Tula between Garissa and Bangal. Between Garissa and Bangal. That is a bridge and a road that was connecting the northern Kenya to the rest of the republic. Today, it is impossible. And I don't know, for Mandera, Wajir, they have been in this situation for the longest time, now 14, 15 days, more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But for us, that road has been the only solace, the only hope to Garissa and its neighboring areas. Again, there is a junction, there is a bridge in a place called Dukanotu near Charidende, within my constituency. A section of a road that connects Mombasa to Garissa, which is now also impassable, completely washed off. And it is at this juncture that I want to caution Kenya, because there are acts of God that cannot be foreseen, and there are things that can be foreseen, planned, and properly mitigated. We have been to the offices as Tana River leaders complaining of situations of those bridges. Now, the contractor has just left from the site, I think a year ago. But now, there is not even a single any proof to show that any works were done there. I want to put them on notice because I completely associate these kind of disasters to poor workmanship from contractors who always do work on that section. So I want to appeal to the national government and the county government, specifically Tana River County Governor is not doing the much he was supposed to do. Tana River County Governor is not doing the much that he was supposed to do. He is a county governor for all the residents of Tana River people. But he's not doing that. We want to appeal to the national government also to come in. Because today, even if you give me food, I don't know which areas to take to. Because unless lifting is done, I cannot even make sure that that food supplies reaches to my area. So we want to appeal to the government to ensure that their voice of the northern leaders and Tana River leaders and then other areas that are affected are heard and properly articulated. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bismillah. Guyyaa kana waan itti walitti gad dhufne wanni masuulinti fakkaata kaga doorratan kan Oodistaan keessa gad dhufe Wajjia Mandera Garissa MP 33 tarma walitti gad dhufne waan irraa khayliine agyaanna aduuba bukai zaida kama mantana lof Oodistaan tar robu jiru kama mantana Wajjia Garissa Mandera robu jiru ka bukai kuna mantana dib zaida lafa geefat kadub lafti mantana biledeen gurguddaan akka biledeel waaqaan gibigina mantan keessa godaanan kanamit gibigin waliin qooti tay kaama mantana wanni karaa fakkaata ka durii raashiniin namaa dhufuun ka yookaan gargaarsi namaa dhufuun karaa nama mantana moyaalee gaddeem ka takkaabir gabbahee madeerga seenu idaa qaba karaa nama Nairobi gaddeemee gaarisir gabbahee wajeerir gabbahee duuba kutuloon gabbuhee madeerga seenu idaa qaba karaan Soomalii gaseen ka dur borochee kanaan gaseen idaa qaba karaan gar Itoophiyaa kanaan gaseen idaa qaba duuba yoo manta karaan ku cuftee akkanaan idaa qaba kaleelle waan nu jedhan karaanii takkachi Bangalii fi Garis lama yidduu kadub yaanna dub Nairobi fi Garis gaseenuun karaan takkachi yaanna Kenya fi Oodistaan wal hariirtuun afaan Bangal sun ticite echuuna mamantana wani Oodistaan fakkaata gibigin Garissa billahi Wajeera Mandera gibigin karaan isicita qabechu hojii akkana kana haala diinii amtu maan innaan raashinii nama manta Nairobi gad dhufee amma manta noodistaan dhaqabuu danda'u hin jiru gargaarsi amma manta yoo am sagalee baasanii raashinii baasanii daawwa baasan qaama manta achi gad dhufee amma manta noodistaan dhaqabuu danda'u hin jiru sittimaan kennin sittimaa manta diizeel injiin karaanis tahmalanii diizeel injiin kun nama manta yoo sagaleen laf dhaqabuu hin dandeenye diizeelillee laf dhaqabuu hin danda'u jechuun isteeshineen kun cufamu mumtaniidhaanidhani networkiin baddi laftii dukkan gibigii taati duuba mamanta na dibaattiin tunini waan silaaftuu sodaa kaa mamanta nu qabnu agyaannaa duuba dhukkubbii garaallee lafa buu jiraat kadaawwan nam dhaqqabuu malan agyaannaa duuba biinni zaayida lafa buut kaa mamanta maleeriyaallee nagir nam dhabuu jiraatan dibaattiin tun cuf duuba mamanta waan dawladdi tiyyachuu jiru dawladdi teenta keenya ta national government waan jechuun jiru agisiin hirriba kaatu agisiin ummat kan dhaqqabdu agisiin qarqaars alallee kadhattu kaisiin waan harka qabdullee duuba ummat kana garreebdu ka duuba mamanta daawwen nu garreeban ka sagalee noodistaan garreeban ka karaa nu midhaaqsan ka duuba mamanta na sagalee muddaa kennan qaayiliti tana mamanta na duuba walti ka dhufnee addunyaa dhaqqabsiisuu jirra media international ka BBC kee jirt ka CNN kee jirt ka media keen ka local kee jirt ka media national kibigin kee jirt guyyaa kana mila dubbanneeni rabbe de albaabeen silaaftuu dhawiinsa manaa hatta baab mata hoynillee yosin taati rabbe de indoofna iyyantana mammantan guyyaa kan yoo rabbe akkan arma wanitti enne taa wanne ayyadu dibaattiin tuni namma guyyaa kana zaayid fagaachuu jirti kalee amma waan nu gadiman elwaaqi intaltok tayaannaa duuba mammantan ilmaanii rejjet ka isbitaal dhaqqabuu feet ka taksiin gad dhuftee duuba isbitaal elwaaq ka riffaar ol kaan dhaqqabuu dadhabde ka yaannaa duuba sababti bisaanii taksii keessan dhalchiisan ka duuba nasiiba aatii laabat baadde ammoo ilmaan kaanii markii rabbiiti ilmaan kaan deebiit ka taktarii yaanna duuba waan itti kasabdag inni isbitaala gabbahee bisaan kee gaddeemee inni taksii keessatti taltaan dhalchiis weereen gaddaa waan nutti man gurbaa ganni 19 ka ijoollee foomtuutti taakaabaa duuba mamanta na taakaabatti bisaan laksuree kaan gad dhufanii gurbaa kaanii bisaan kaan dabraniini abbootiin ilmaan suni rabbiin harisinnaa fi gurbaa sun abbootiin ilmaan suni yaannaa duuba gurbaa sun pengiine itti deebitee hin agartuu hin awwaallattu na bisaan dabraniini rabbi hanaarisuuf yenna warrellee sabarkii rabba kennuuf yenna namni amma maanta raawwate elwaaq gaafunoona namsa diimanii kaleellee gurbaa sun himanii dhibaattii nam bisaan kun hin dhufaniin ka buqqee kun dhufeen dhibaattii yaagaan geettu dawladdi amma wanni nuti khayli neeftana inshaallahu wanni kun markii rabbiiti idinkii rabbiiti rabbiin guddaan ummat badbaadina ammoo aksi laaftuu masuuliin dinte disanii khayliyuu dandeetu na khayliine dawladdiin na khayliine addunyaan na khayliine akkasuma qabaatan
bismillaahi rahmaani rahiim mudanaha laga soo doortay Mandera East ayaan nahay maanta waxaan iskugu imaadnay meeshan international media iyo kuwii Kenya dhammaan waxaan iskugu yeernay meeshan anagoo ah xildhibaaniinta laga soo doortay North Eastern dhammaan arrintan isku keentay waa qayladaan in meel walba runtii daad iyo maartii gaaja iyo maartii shidaalaan ama paawalaan ay meel walba ka dhacday roobkii qasaare fara badan uu geystay ilaahay baa mahadle alxamdulillah roob oo waqti badan abaar aan joognay ayaan helnay laakiin roobkii qasaare ayaad keenay qasaaradii iid ahayd haddii ay dhacday waxaan rabnaa sida ugu degdeg badan in dawladda ay dadka soo gaarta in dadkii maartay maadaama gawaaridii ay xiran yihiin oo maartay gawaaridii meeshan ka tagay ay Mandera tagi karin macadaada ay ku xiran yihiin kutulo ay ku xiran yihiin dhinac walba maartay ay ku xiran yihiin waxaan rabnaa magaalooyinka qaarkood ay maartay roob ay la wada wareegeen sida magaalada El-Waaq camal sida meel dariiqa la yiraahdo Mandera East camal meel badan ay maartay arinta ay ka dhacday Gaarisa ay ka jirto Wajeer ay ka jirto waxaan rabnaa in sida ugu degdeg badan dawladda ay maartay ay arintan ay ku dhawaaqdo national disaster sida adduun weynaha ay noo soo gaaraan oo dadka musaacada loo siiya waad ogsantihiin anaga county government gayn iskuma filna anaga MPyalka iyo dadka maartay la soo doortay kuma filna marka hadii arintan ay noocan ay gaarta waxa lagu dhawaaqa masiibo qaran waxa la yiraahdo af Soomaali ama national disaster Englishka arinteeda anaga hadii isu imaadna MPyalka dhammaan waxaan isku afgarannay hadii ay dawladda Kenya ku dhawaaqi wayso masiibo qaran ina annaga aan ku dhawaaqna madaxdii Northeastern laga soo doortay hadaan sababteeda ma aamusnaan karna dadka annagoo fiirinayna in horta ay gaajo ugu baaba'aan ma aha annaga raashinka wuxuu ka imaan jiray Soomaaliya wuxuu ka imaan jiray Ethiopia wuxuu ka imaan jiray Kenya hadda saddexdii way go'on yihiin dhinaca Soomaaliya waa ka go'ontahay Ethiopia xageed waa ka go'ontahay wadadii Kenya way ka go'ontahay annaga wadada laami on haysana ma laha ilaa Madoogash ay joogtaa Madoogash ilaa Mandera laami ma haysana waxaana waa wax noogala taragalay waay 60 iyo googo sana ayaa maartay aan qaylin haynaa oo runtii gacan bidixin xog leh ay dawladda Kenya aan ka sheeganaa marka arinta maadaama ay dhacday waxaan rabnaa dhibkan intuu si weynaanin inay dawladda masiibo qaran ku dhawaaqda waad ogsantihiin WFP iyo UN waxay qabaan diyaarada waaweyn oo 30 tan ilaa 40 tan qaadaya oo dropping wax la dhaha sameeyo oo ku daaday ceel waa gacmal ay tagi dabada ay furun meel ma aragtay loogu talagalay raashinka ay ku daadin waxay tagaysaa lafay waa ku daadin waxay tagi taagaaba waxay tagi Carabiya waxay tagi qalaaliyo meel walba ay ku daadinaysaa arrimaha hadda loo baahan yahay arrin noocaas ah waay sidii ma aragtay ay dadka gaajo ugu baahan ay ugu baabeen anagoo fiirinayn waxa kale oo ugu baaqaynaa wasiirka ma aragtay Davis Churchill oo energy in aas sida ugu degdeg badan shidaal as diyaarada ku geey shidaal diyaaradaha ku geey Kenya wadan xur oo 63 sano waay ma suurtagali karta in magaalooyinka waaweyn maanta ay shidaalaan ay yihiin oo maartay ay electricity yihiin wax dhici kara ma aha annaga waxaan isku afgaranay in ay dawladdu ku dhawaaqdo masiibo qaran hadii ay ku dhawaaqi waysana annagaaba ku dhawaaqnay saacada hadda ku dhawaaqnayba waxaan dhahnay masiibo qaran ka jirta Northeastern province hana la soo gaar adduun weyna wax ilaahay uume marka iswareysan hadda gabanayaalkii annaga dhamaan aan iswareysan wax El-Nino loogu talagalay oo lacag oo ilaa hadda saacada la taagin la deeyoon hayna malaha marka madaxweyne ku xigeenka runtii waxyaalahaas u fiirsannaas ku hadlaa ha ka fiirsadaan leenahay nin madaxweyne ku xigeen oo maanta ilmiriqsi madaxweyne u jira inaad waxaad rab iskaga hadlo meeshaad rabaa istaaga wax suurtagal ma aha lacag la deey ma jiraan hadda ayaan ka rabnaa in dadka la soo gaaro oo lacag la soo daayo oo adduunyahana ma aragtay noogala qayli madaxweynaha aas ku dhawaaqa oo ma aragtay dadweynaha sidii nooga soo gurmada